Friendship did not arrive loudly in Eleanor Whitcomb's life. It did not knock, announce itself, or demand space. It simply appeared, as quiet things often do, and stayed. She first noticed Thomas Reed because of how gently he occupied a room. He did not shift in his chair with impatience or clear his throat to remind others of his presence. He sat with a book open in his hands, posture relaxed, eyes attentive, as though the world had granted him permission to pause, and he had accepted without question. They shared the same small corner of the library, a place that smelled of paper, polish, and long-held thoughts. Eleanor volunteered there, sorting returned books and answering questions she already knew by heart. Thomas came to read, always choosing the same seat, always treating the pages as something deserving respect. They exchanged a nod at first. Nothing more. It was enough. Their acquaintance grew in the way ivy grows on old brick, slow, patient, almost unnoticeable until one day it is suddenly everywhere. A shared smile over a misplaced book, a brief comment about an author neither of them fully trusted, a quiet understanding that neither felt the need to impress the other. Conversation followed naturally, never forced. Eleanor spoke with the measured clarity of someone who had spent much of her life choosing words carefully. Thomas listened as though listening were an art he had studied. When he spoke, it was thoughtfully, his voice steady, his sentences considered. They discovered a mutual fondness for routine. After leaving the library, they walked together to a small cafe nearby. The place was unremarkable in appearance but generous in atmosphere. Cups clinked softly. Steam rose in gentle spirals. The window offered a view of passing lives without requiring participation. They always chose the same table. Eleanor preferred her tea softened with milk. Thomas took his without additions. This difference amused them both, though neither attempted to change the other's mind. Friendship, they seemed to understand instinctively, did not require agreement. They spoke of books often. Eleanor's love of literature was shaped by years spent guiding others through stories, helping them uncover meanings without stealing the joy of discovery. Thomas approached books differently. He read as one studies landscapes, attentive to structure, detail, and what lies beneath the surface. Maps were his quiet passion. He spoke of them with a restrained enthusiasm, describing lines and boundaries as though they were living things. He believed maps revealed not only places, but intentions, the human need to define, to understand, to claim. Eleanor listened, fascinated. She found comfort in the way Thomas explained the world, careful and honest without exaggeration. They did not hurry into personal histories. The past was treated with respect, not avoidance, but patience. Eleanor lived alone in a house that echoed with memory. She spoke once of a marriage that had been loving and complete, a partnership that had ended gently, though painfully. Thomas acknowledged this with quiet understanding, and did not pry. Thomas too carried his own history. He mentioned a life once shared, now remembered privately. Eleanor did not ask questions. She sensed that some stories revealed themselves only when they were ready. Their friendship settled into something dependable. They walked side by side, neither leading nor following. Silence between them was never awkward. It was companionable, a shared space rather than an absence. When Thomas disappeared from the library for a while, Eleanor noticed immediately. The chair remained empty, the absence louder than any noise. She told herself not to worry, yet found her thoughts returning to him without permission. Concern eventually overcame hesitation. She asked after him and learned he had been injured. Nothing dramatic, she was told, but enough to require care and rest. She visited him. The room was stark and unfamiliar, filled with soft sounds that carried no warmth. Thomas looked diminished there, as though the space had borrowed some of his presence for itself. "You didn't have to come," he said, though his eyes said otherwise. "I wanted to," Eleanor replied. They spoke of small things, familiar things. Eleanor brought him a book, chosen carefully, knowing his taste well enough now to trust her instinct. He accepted it with gratitude that went beyond politeness. When Thomas returned to his routines, he moved more slowly. Eleanor matched his pace without comment. She adjusted her steps, her expectations, her understanding. Care, she knew, was often expressed through what was not said. Their conversations deepened. They spoke of kindness and honesty, of the ways people fail one another without meaning to. They disagreed at times, gently but firmly. Those disagreements never lingered. Respect cushioned them. Eleanor began writing again, something she had once set aside without fully realizing it. She shared her work with Thomas, unsure, vulnerable in a way that surprised her. He read carefully, offering insight rather than praise. "You leave room for the reader," he told her. "That takes courage." Thomas, inspired perhaps by her willingness to create again, returned to drawing maps. These were not maps of real places. They were imagined landscapes, drawn with tenderness rather than precision. Eleanor studied them closely, recognizing emotion in the curves of rivers and the spaces left unnamed. As their friendship matured, it became something neither of them questioned. It simply was. When illness returned to Thomas's life, it did not arrive suddenly. It came quietly, settling in without urgency but with certainty. Eleanor stayed with him often, sitting beside him listening, holding silence when words felt unnecessary. They spoke of gratitude, of contentment, of the strange gift of finding someone who understood without explanation. "I'm glad we met," Thomas said once. "So am I," Eleanor replied. After Thomas was gone, Eleanor carried him with her in small ways. She continued visiting the library. She returned to the cafe and sat at their table. She ordered tea and smiled at the empty chair, feeling not loss alone but fullness. At home, she opened one of Thomas's sketchbooks. Inside, a message waited, written with care. Some connections need no borders. Eleanor closed the book gently. Friendship, she understood now, was not measured by duration or marked by milestones. It existed outside such things. It lived in shared silence, in mutual regard, in the quiet certainty of being seen. And that, she thought, was more than enough.